Mel has the most cutting edge technology on the planet Earth at Staying Alive Wellness Center.
Supposedly you have some insight that Donald Trump is going to roll out everybody commonly refers to as med beds.
The answer to that question is that there is a delay due to a technical issue where there are too many people on this planet that have still doing a lot of evil. So what I've been told is that we're going to see an EBS where we'll have a mass arrest, and then we'll have the med beds. The last thing we want to do is regenerate those people. It's going to take about 4 years to heal everybody on planet Earth. Around 2032, we will be a full 5D civilization.
Talk about what is a super soldier, what that really means and what that meant. James, what is a super soldier? And talk about your experience and kind of what that was all about.
Okay, so my particular clone body was re-aged. Before I was James Rink, I was James Martin Reelsberg. I was Delta One and I served the U.S. Army. I died in 1979, and that particular body is in stasis right now under Sandia, and I know that because Remote viewed it, but it's totally cybernated. Just only the head is organic. So that particular body was cloned out, and then I was one of those clones. So my particular date of birth is blacked out, but it looks around the year 3 or 4. I was replaced with the baby my mom had, and that baby was taken to the moon where it was converted into a super soldier. I say that because they would give it nano, pico, and later femto injections, which would enhance the psychic abilities. So even though I'm here, I'm also there, but it's still me, it's my soul. So that's typically how I serve through what's called avatar bodies. But these avatar bodies are not just human or enhanced humanoids. They could put in reptilian genetics. There was a mission I did on Orion Prime where I delivered a message to the Queen there about the Cabal's capabilities here on planet Earth. They were abducting about 200,000 people a year. They had this receptacle. The Greys would have this receptacle where they go into a woman, well, first to a man, obviously, to get the sample, and then go to a woman, genetically engineered. So they're making all these hybrids. So they forced me on working on both sides of the coin, and so that was the Cabal side. But I've also served on Kruger, and I can go on different missions. I don't know if you want to go into.
So talk to us a little bit about some of these spacecrafts that you've been on. Tell us the inner workings of how these self-contained ships that fly through the cosmos operate. What kind of technology they're using to fly through space? Are they bending space and time? Are they doing, magnetic propulsion? What speeds are they moving on? Is it faster than the speed of light? How much faster than the speed of light? Is it 10 times faster than warp speed? What is it?
So a really fun podcast, great podcast today with Mr. Mel Carmine. And Mel, I'm here with Mr. James Rink, Super Soldier, leader of Super Soldier Talk online at YouTube and on Rumble. And of course, Riley O'Reilly here with USA MedBed. And with that being said, Mel, a great show today, a lot to talk about. Why don't you start it off?
Well, I'm hoping that you guys come down to the Quantum Summit. I don't know if you guys can squeeze it into your schedule March 8th, March 9th. We got quite the cast of characters coming on stage, but you know how it is towards the end. Some people say, hey, I can't make it. And, so it's a ever shifting evolution, if you will. So, but I don't know, James, are you available March 8th, March 9th at all?
Well, March 8th is my birthday, so I would love it. Usually I go to Florida around my birthday time, around March 8th, so I don't know if I can do that or not.
Well, that'll be great. Then you'll be celebrating your birthday with the CEO of Purium Products, who will be at the Quantum Summit, by the way. His birthday is also March 8th.
Mr. Dave Sandoval?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely. Yeah. So anyway, I know you guys got this wild setup, man. I like your backdrop. You got this it's like you're on Star Trek or something.
That's the way we roll up here in Virginia, brother. We are intergalactic, and we are having some fun, and we're taking everybody along for the ride. So you are now officially in this spaceship with us.
Okay. Cool, man. Why don't we start with James Rink? I know he's got an incredible history of being super soldier. He knows about the what I commonly refer to as the celestial chambers. A lot of people refer them as med beds. That's like the slang word for it. I know he knows a lot about that stuff. And there's a lot of people that are curious. And I think that this mRNA thing that they're rolling out, that's going to supposedly going to fight cancer through the Trump administration, may very well be that, except they're disguising it as something else. Is that a possibility?
I do not think it's a good idea to edit anybody's DNA. All you have to do is look at the Resident Evil movies, which is essentially a documentary on another timeline.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But so what would you like to know specifically?
Well, I'd like to know if Donald Trump, you supposedly you have some insight that Donald Trump is going to roll out what everybody commonly refers to as med beds.
The answer to that question is that there is a delay due to a technical issue where there are too many people on this planet that are still doing a lot of evil. So what I've been told is that we're going to see an EBS where we'll have mass arrests, and then we'll have the med beds. The last thing we want to do is regenerate those people. So that's why they're awaiting.
And how long do you think that whole process is going to take?
For like an EBS, 2 days. You're not going to be able to run or hide. So, but until that time comes, we're going to have to work what is available, which Sean's your man for that one. So,
No, actually, Mel's your man for that one, because Mel has the most cutting edge technology on the planet Earth at Staying Alive Wellness Center. And Mel, we can talk about that technology here later in the show. But I do want to back up to what you initially said. Let's, James, give people a little bit of information about your background, about the programs and the actual, because James has really been in the quote unquote real med beds and has actually seen them and used them. And so from a firsthand perspective, but James, tell everybody a little bit about your background and about, some of the programs and your exposure to the actual med beds off planet.
Yeah. So my records show that I was is an ultra soldier. So I was Gen 5 and my embryo number was 320 out of a batch of about 700. And typically every one of these generations, there's about 10 of them that before they take them to the next generation. So right now we're on Gen 11, but my particular clone body was genetically enhanced and used in a variety of planetary corporations, including Umbrella, unfortunately, also Monarch, Kruger. I've served in Nachtwaffen and even Solar Warden. Trying to think there's a few more there. So according to Peter the Insider, I've served for 330 years. I do not remember 330 years of service. I remember bits and fragments and some missions, which I put in my book called Lone Wolf. And that book is available on my website, neologicaltech.com. So you should go get yourself a copy. I've got some more coming in hopefully this week when I get back.
Well, if you come down to the Quantum Summit, bring a suitcase full because you'll be able to have a little table out there. Anybody who comes or speaks on stage, I'm allowing you to have a table free of charge. I'm not charging you for the table. And hopefully there'll be a lot of people there that you will be interested in buying your book.
Let's talk about it later. So I'm sure the people will be super excited to see me come, I think. And I'll bring the books and we can talk about it. So you asked, you want to know a little bit more about super soldiers, or?
Yeah, I want to know more, as much as you can give, as much information as you can give, and put it in layman's terms for the average Joe, average Jane, about the medical technologies that are about to engulf planet Earth in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah. Okay. So this source of information came through some of the regression work I do, and sometimes we would look into the future, and typically around the year 2027, it looks like everyone has access to med beds. Now, I don't know the exact time or hour, but also there's always probabilities that even that information is inaccurate depending on our actions in the here and now, because everything is dependent on action, right? So I believe it's going to be around 2027, and I have a whole, I write about it in my book. So it's going to take about 4 years to heal everybody on planet Earth. around 2032, we will be a full 5D civilization. Around 2035, Tartaria is going to be returning back to planet Earth. Looking into the future, it's about 30 years of the biggest economic expansion here in the United States of America. And then going into that future, around 2050s, the Galactic Federation is going to put out the message that they're going to be pulling out of our sector, that we need to protect ourselves. So the super soldier assets, or really anybody who wants to become Space Force, to be renamed Space Alliance. So that's where the term alliance comes. Anyone who wants to join the alliance can train, and around 2075, we will have our own Space Alliance to protect this sector space. So I can go further in the future. It doesn't really matter at this point. We've got a lot of work to do now. So types of super soldiers.
Yeah, talk about what is a super soldier and kind of what that really means and what that meant. Yeah.
Once we tell how the story ends.
Yeah. What is it, James? What is a super soldier? And talk about your experience and kind of what that was all about.
Okay. So my particular clone body was re-aged. Before I was James Rink, I was James Martin Reelsberg. I was Delta One, and I served the U.S. Army. I died in 1979, and that particular body is in stasis right now under Sandia, and I know that because remote viewed it. But it's totally cybernated. Just only the head is organic. So that particular body was cloned out, and then I was one of those clones. So my particular date of birth is blacked out, but it looks around the year 3 or 4. I was replaced with the baby my mom had, and that baby was taken to the moon, where it was converted into a super soldier. I say that because they would give it nano, pico, and later femto injections, which would enhance the psychic abilities. So even though I'm here, I'm also there, but it's still me, it's my soul. So that's typically how I serve, through what's called avatar bodies, Cybus and Arbus. So, but these avatar bodies are not just human or enhanced humanoids. They could put in reptilian genetics. There was a mission I did on Orion Prime where I delivered a message to the Queen there about the Cabal's capabilities here on planet Earth. There was about, I don't know, it had 200 of the craft. They were abducting about 200,000 people a year. They had this receptacle. The Greys would have this receptacle where they go into a woman, well, first to a man, obviously, to get the sample, and then go to a woman, genetically engineered. So they're making all these hybrids. So they forced me on working on both sides of the coin. And so that was the Cabal side, but I've also served on Kruger, and I can go on different missions. I don't know if you want to go into.
So talk to us a little bit about some of these spacecrafts that you've been on. Tell us the inner workings of how these sort of self-contained ships that fly through the cosmos operate. What kind of technology they're using to fly through space? Are they bending space and time? Are they doing, magnetic propulsion? What speeds are they moving on? Is it faster than the speed of light? How much faster than the speed of light? Is it 10 times faster than warp speed? What is it? Gold and silver. Welcome to CarminesGold.com. Don't waste not even a second looking. Cheaper prices just don't exist. How important is it for you to own gold and silver right now? What does it mean to me personally? There's an economy that's about to crash beyond what words can explain. In 5 words, I'm going to educate you on gold and silver. Are you ready? You need to own some. Simple.
Well, that's a great question. So a super soldier is trained for battle combat. So there's something called a super tech. So they are typically in charge of the engineering component. But what I can tell you is that at least with Noctuoff and some of these craft, they would have different segments. So the individuals in one segment would not know what's going on in the other segment, and it's only the people, the officer class at the top, at the bridge, that would have an understanding of what's going on in their own vessel. And typically, Noctuoff anyway, officers have to be German of descent. So Okay, so let's hear. You want to know? Okay, another craft that I served on was in the Excalibur and Solar Warden. But this was around the 1980s, and at that time, um, all the technology and the craft were operated by tokens. So my crew were being sent to worlds that were where they were exposed to high levels of radiation. And yes, we did have a med bed where we could regenerate them, but we didn't have enough tokens to do it. So what they did is they would put us in a state of hunger. They would limit the amount of food we could have so that we would be more psychic. So there was a extreme amount of torture and abuse within Solar War, and that's the U.S. Navy's program. So I don't think it's that bad. Basically, after hearing the testimony of John Charles, it actually sounded really nice, but that's not what it was when I was there. So so what happened? I was transferring tokens to run the craft through my own personal account, and then I got caught. So they arranged me to be. I was part in this battle with the Draco, and I got captured, put into a prison, and they sent me out throughout time. So there's a way of torturing someone more than just death. You can send them back in time to hell worlds. So the Draco did that to me, but it is what it is. Whatever. I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing.
Sure, I'm going to ask you a question about the tokens, but before I ask you the questions about the tokens, I want to ask you, how would you feel about being on stage with Michael Jaco and what's her name, Carrie Cassidy? I think that would be a perfect trifecta of the perfect storm, if you will, of capturing people that know how to talk about the stuff that you guys talk about.
Yeah, let's do it. Absolutely. Jaco served. I think he was an MDF, Mars Defense Force, but I know he served on Mars. And so Carrie Cass, I believe she probably was an SSP veteran. I never asked her about it, but let's find out.
Yeah, I don't know who else we could probably throw on stage to make it really interesting, but those three stick into my mind immediately, just like that. Now, talk to me about tokens. It's like you have to have like tokens to make the craft move at warp speed, or like some kind of cryptocurrency. What is tokens all about?
Well, back in the 1980s, so what happened is there's a strong possibility of a mutiny. So all they have to do is to prevent you from using equipment, and nobody's going to be able to steal any ships. So I don't think
they have people stealing ships.
Oh yeah, well they were like I said, they weren't feeding the crew enough. They were being sent on missions, and they weren't being regenerated. There was a lot of angry people on these crafts, but it is what it is.
How big are some of these crafts?
Hold on a second. So you want to know about Nachtwaffen? Their largest dreadnought. Oh my gosh, I forgot the name of it. It'll probably come to me. 5 miles. So obviously they don't use miles; they're going to use kilometers. So I don't.
Mm-hmm.
So there's in Solar Warden, it's about 1/5 that size. So the Americans are always trying to get caught up with the Germans, but the Germans essentially won the space race. So
interesting. So some of these crafts are 5 miles big. You're saying 5 miles long, and how long? How wide are they?
You know what they look like, the dreadnoughts in Star Wars. That gives you an idea of depth.
And I've seen some of these pictures when the late Robert Dean was alive, over from Arizona, who's been interviewed on Carrie Cassidy's show about 1.5 million times. My mom actually fell in love with him. Don't ask me why, but she did. So he's like, "What a handsome gentleman! Is he still alive?" I said, "No, Ma, he's off the market. Like he's off planet. He's not here anymore." But anyway, needless to say, yeah. So what kind of energy permeates inside these crafts? Because I understand the technology that we have, myself and my wife own in Cape Canaveral, which is scalar wave biophotonic light system. Energy actually permeates throughout these crafts, which is the reason why the extraterrestrials can stay young for a very, very long time. We have conclusive evidence from one of our clients that lives on Brickell Avenue in Miami, who did a test, sent in a test to a blood lab in Texas, and we have conclusive evidence that the telomeres went up by 23%. She stayed in the system for a month, entirely. She stayed there for a month at night, and her telomeres grew by 23%, which is a dramatic amount of growth. I mean, that means if she was going to die at 100 years old, for example, that means she's got an extra 23 years to go on top of the 100 years. 23%, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty wild. So what kind of energy permeates inside these crafts that is similar to what we have, for example, in Cape Canaveral?
Oh, okay, well,
Like healing technology, like where the body stays in 90 millivolts at all times.
So I've interviewed Jimmy Payne, and he says that he was on the Enterprise. So the original Star Trek, that was mostly a documentary. So that gives you an idea what's at least that particular technology, the warp drive, and the charts on the warp speed is accurate for the original Star Trek, and the star date is based on planet Vulcan. So the Spock is about 4 foot tall, and Commander Yusuru was not a black lady; she was also a Vulcan. So there's in Hollywood they provide you a lot of information, Star People's files that were redacted. And was I back in North Carolina, but I will do this interview in the future. The fire in the sky, the contact, I forgot, what was his name? The contactee in that. So those aliens in that movie were featured in the Steven Spielberg movie, E.T. Extraterrestrial. So that was also a documentary. So if you want to know what the capacity of these craft are, just refer to Hollywood in some cases.
So basically, they're selling us science fiction like we predicted all along, and it's really science fact, which is not a big surprise.
Well, so a lot of the names were redacted. So some of it's like fiction, a lot of it's fiction, but the general premise is accurate. Like in the movie Aliens, right? We have the Nostromo and the Utami. I forgot what was it? Utami something Nakamura, whatever corporation that is. So those are all corporations based in the Breakaway, and the Prometheus. We had this advanced group of humanoids that were supposed to come back around 2091 in the movie, and then incidentally, that's the same date that the Times capsule in the Denver airport is supposed to open up. 2090.
So have you ever heard that Melania could be a Pleiadian and Donald Trump could be a time traveler? What do you know about that?
It is my belief that his soul is most likely from some kind of extraterrestrial source, and very likely his family has access to time travel technology, hence the whole thing with 17. So I don't want to get your channel banned, but as far as Melania is concerned, it is very likely. I have not researched her, so I'm going to go with whatever you have to say about her, Mel.
Well, I don't know. I'm just like, I listen to a lot of stuff like everybody else out there, and they point out the eyes are almond shaped eyes, and she's not from around here, and she might not be. We don't really know, and we're probably never going to find out because they're not going to come out and say, hey, we're going to make an announcement to the world. I'm from the Pleiades. I'm not from around here. I don't think we're going to see Melania do that anytime soon.
General Patton was going to run for office to become president. And before he could make the announcement, his car, didn't somebody like slam into his car? So his children, the baby was sent to be raised by the Trump family, who is now Donald Trump. So I believe that story to be accurate. It's been confirmed through. Yeah.
What was really impressive about the entire inauguration was when, Barron Trump walked up to Biden and shook his hand. And it was, and Biden within a second, and everybody that was around Biden looked like death warned over, literally, because I think Barron said something to him. We don't know what that something is. I would love to be a fly on the wall to be able to pick up that little tidbit of a conversation. But I have a feeling that we're looking at potentially the makings of a Michael Corleone inside the Trump family to come back at a later time to really finish the job. Although I do believe that in the interim, we might see maybe a Trump Jr., as a president, which would be a good choice. I think we might see potentially a Eric Trump as a president, which would be a good choice. I think we're going to see a long run of the Trump family because we're going to need about maybe 16 to 20 years to really bring everything back to some kind of normalcy, even though this planet was never normal, right?
So I've interviewed Michael McIntosh, and he claims that he was sent back in time, and he was on the craft that crashed at Roswell. So when the military personnel showed up, he said he wanted to talk to the president. So that's part of the reason why it was so classified, is because there was a human from the future with the grays there, some of the dead bodies. So it took 2 weeks to travel across the country to finally get to meet Truman. And the first question from Truman is, how do we beat the Nazis, right? So he says, well, we dropped the atom bomb, and he didn't even know what it was. So he had to ask his personnel, what is that? Because, the Manhattan Project was one of the most secretive operations here in the United States. And even the president wasn't cued in. So now he was. And basically, Michael McIntosh has been to the future, and he has described, he gave a list of some of the presidents, like Ann Coulter, right? We have Alex Jones will be a president in the future. Yolanda Renee King, the granddaughter, Martin Luther King. He did say Arnold Schwarzenegger, because even though the United States was occupied territory of Austria, so he technically is a U.S. citizen. So that's what he described. But I don't like the fact that he promoted those VACCINES. So
right.
Anyway.
I know you do. I know you talk a lot about Saint Germain, but before I ask you about Saint Germain and whether it is Trump that is Saint Germain, a lot of people say that as well. I wanted to ask you: do you still have contact with extraterrestrials, and if so, which races?
Oh, I'm still being abducted by Greys that work with the reptilians. So they're they're using my body to take genetic samples to make super soldier clones. I do not consent, but since the world that we live in, a slave world, but it is what it is. So I'm just stating it. So what was the other question? I get abducted about once every other day.
Really? Okay. I mean, do you have physical craft that come down? Do your neighbors notice the crafts, or do you have any eyewitnesses to the events?
I have seen orbs inside my kitchen, and the next morning I wake up with claw marks on my back. I get needle marks on a regular basis, get scratches, scoop marks. I have pictures of rod-shaped objects that are coming out underneath my fingernail or put under my fingernail, and I've got an implant in my ears. So here in this realm, I'm just James Rink, but off-world. My altar, it would be placed into one of these super soldier bodies to be served in these projects.
Yeah, I mean, on this planet, I mean, somebody looks at you right now, looks at you, says, this guy doesn't look like no super soldier. You look like you'll probably get pretty beat up in a bar fight.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
When I'm activated, that's an entirely different story. So
yeah,
if they want to do that, then they can find out what somebody actually put a video comment in one of my videos that they're going to come to my house and throw a brick on my head just to see what happened. I don't recommend it. Please don't do that. But
yeah, of course.
Now over the years, when I first started sharing this information, you can imagine how hostile a lot of people were. So I'm finding nowadays people are becoming more and more open-minded, and we're finding that there's millions of experiencers, and only a tiny fragment have gotten some of their memories back. So I don't know if there's been anyone that has all. I think there might be a few people might have all their memories back, but
I just came up with two more people that could be on stage with you: Laura Eisenhower and Ishmael Perez.
That's a great idea. Just keep in mind. Everybody's got
their own opinion, their own thing.
Power to you to make it happen.
Sure, but I think it's going to be a very interesting conversation. Think about it. You, Jaco, Kerry Cassidy, Laura Eisenhower, and Ishmael Perez on stage. Are you kidding me? That's never been done before,
brother.
Huh?
I'm in.
Yeah, that's never been done before. You understand? You five on one stage, never been done.
Oh no, not me.
So Saint Germain, tell us a little bit about Saint Germain. And I know that you
Yeah.
and a lot of people still believe that he roams the earth and he's part of Nasara and Jasara and give the riches back to the people, etc. And I believe that to some extent that there's a lot of truth to that.
Okay, so our planet has been switching back and forth between the Orion groups, the negative Orion groups rather, and the Federation, the Alliance groups. So we have gone through a reset, usually about once every 200 years. Some of these resets are a lot more major. There was a reset right around the time of Christ. So from time of Christ to around the year 1280, we've had this planet was technologically advanced. We had giants that built a lot of these structures, the cathedrals. So these giants left. We had a reset, and then I do believe like Tartar up north of China, that was still advanced civilization until the mud floods around the 1814. So now I just forgot the question. Say the question again because I was trying to get to my point.
What was the question? Now I forget.
Saint Germain.
Saint Germain. Thank you.
Saint
Okay,
Germain. That's right.
Okay, so planet Earth has gone continuously going back into these dark ages, and it's been captured. So we have, when people pray and have a belief, what happens is through our thoughts we can manifest a creation. So Saint Germain was essentially the answer to the prayers of all humans asking for someone to get them out of this slave planet that we are in. So Saint Germain, aka which the story goes in the documentary that I put together about almost 15 years ago. The story is that Queen Elizabeth I had a son with Sir Robert Dudley, and that marriage, the Virgin Queen, right? Hence Virginia, the state of Virginia, right? She wasn't really a virgin, but she didn't want to let people know because it was a male-dominated era. So her son, Francis Bacon, became the Lord Chancellor, which is like the Attorney General, the head legal expert of the British royal family, right? So when King James came on board, so on, he was working with William Shakespeare and also a group of, I think there was about 12 other people, it might be 20, who were part of the Knights of the Helmet, which believed that when Athena, the goddess Athena, would shake her spear, it would tremble, right? So had her enemy. So hence the word Shakespeare. Mm-hmm. So Francis Bacon was working with, there was 40 people working on the Bible as well as the Shakespearean novels and plays, whatever, sonnets. So Francis Bacon faked his death. I think it was around like 1629 or something like that. And he settled in Europe where he studied alchemy. And the highest form of alchemy isn't to turn lead into gold, although that would be nice, right? The highest form of alchemy is actually converting your physical body into a spiritual body and raising your consciousness up to the fifth dimension so you are not affected by the rules of this dimension. So therefore, he became immortal. That was 1684 was his ascension day. And so he settled in Hungary. Francis Rákóczi the first, or no, I think it was the second at the time. And then he moved to Vienna, and he was working with royalty to try to create a United States of Europe. But what he found was that these jealous leaders, princes, royalty, nobility did not want to give up their power. So ultimately, he was trying to stop the French Revolution, but in 1784, at the Wildenbad Convention, Freemasonry, because he started Freemasonry, the G on the skull, the compass, and so that was Saint Germain. So in 1784, Masonic leaders voted that the Illuminati would be the highest degrees of Freemasonry, where Saint Germain wanted to fillate these. So what he envisioned was a vast spiral of spiritual radiation where one person would become enlightened and they can enlighten other people and eventually just kind of spiral around the world where he could create a new Atlantis, a new golden age, right? So, but, we had Adam Weishaupt, and then it was, Mazzini. I think Mazzini was next, and then Albert Pike. So, and under masonry, under the Illuminism, what was taught was that ultimately the ideas of the Talmud were, see, I don't want to get your channel banned.
No, you're good.
Talmudism, and ultimately there was a connection with Lucifer, and ultimately that was the one that was in charge. So Saint Germain was unsuccessful at creating United States of Europe. However, he worked on creating a United States of America. So he was working with George Washington at Valley Forge, and also he showed up that day in Independence Hall, 1776, where our founding fathers were debating whether or not to sign that document, because if they did, they would all be deemed traitors. And of course, they were the United States was an agrarian society at that time, so to have land in a state, it was to have power. So there wasn't much opportunities otherwise. So ultimately, Saint Germain stood up in the balcony and said, "Sign that document with the gibbets rope around your neck. Sign that document, whether or not there'll be the slaves in the mine or yeah." So ultimately, they one by one, they all came forward and signed that document with John Hancock signing his name in big bold letters, so that King George III, could see it without his spectacles. So.
Interesting. Tell us a little bit about alchemy and what you know.
That's who Uncle Sam is. So who's Uncle Sam? He is Saint Germain, the Uncle Sam of the United States of America. So there you go.
Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit about what you know about alchemy, and if you can explain it in layman's terms to the average person. I mean, the way I understand it, the people that really know how to do it effectively, they could take just about anything, even like lead, for example, and turn it into gold, correct?
Yeah, it was like the three parts of the Azoth was part of so they're always trying to transmute the base elements into something higher spiritual vibration. So the philosopher's stone, and so ultimately what the philosopher's stone is, it's something inside of us. By transmuting us to a higher vibration, we can create an organ in our body which will make us immortal. So that's what the elixir of life was. But
is that what they're afraid of? Because Donald Trump is about to, yeah. Is that what they're afraid of? That Donald Trump is about to unleash hell on earth in a good way, to really release a lot of these technologies where people are going to be able to live 1,000, 2,000 years old and find out about the secrets of the universe, frequency, vibration, and sound, where we could get into alchemy, right? Tell us a little bit about what you think Donald Trump is going to release in the next 4 or 5 years, well, next 4 years. Technically speaking, he's in for 4 years, right?
The upcoming Quantum Summit represents a convergence of advanced scientific, technological, and socio-economic paradigms aimed at addressing some of the most pressing and transformative issues of our time. The topics, curated to spark intellectual and practical innovation, include: Number 1, next-generation digital finance systems. Examination of digital assets like XRP, XLM, XDC, and their alignment with the ISO 20022 standard for interoperability and global financial integration. The emergence of gold-backed Basel-compliant tokens, setting a new precedent for asset-backed financial instruments. Discussion of the role of XRP as a potential stablecoin, RLUSD, and its implications of redefining real USD stability. Number 2, currency reevaluation and sound money principles. Insights into potential reevaluation of legacy currencies such as the Iraqi dinar, Vietnamese dong, and Zimbabwe dollar. Advocacy for a gold-backed monetary system and the reintroduction of sound money to stabilize global economies. Number 3, global governance and alliances. Collaboration between Space Force and the Galactic Federation and the so-called White Hats, with a focus on strategic advancements in security and cosmic governance. Exploratory discussion on controversial topics such as flat Earth theories and the hidden realms of the inner Earth. Number 4, Antarctica's mysteries and strategic importance. A scientific investigation into Antarctica's geopolitical and ecological significance, potentially uncovering revolutionary insights. Number 5, revolutionizing public health and environmental policies. Contributions from consultants to the RFK administration on transforming the U.S. food supply, aiming for super organic standards. addressing the eradication of harmful practices by entities like Monsanto, alongside a comprehensive overhaul of the agricultural system. Number 6, advanced technologies for well-being. Introduction of scalar energy technologies presented by experts. Exploration of holistic modalities such as prospects of these treatments being covered by future insurance policies, signaling a paradigm shift in healthcare accessibility and innovation. Number 7, environmental reformation and atmospheric engineering. Strategies for eliminating chemtrails and fostering ecological balance using advanced technologies and holistic approaches. A transformative experience. This summit promises a rare opportunity to engage with groundbreaking ideas, cutting-edge technologies, and visionary thought leaders. Attendees will leave with unparalleled insights and actionable knowledge, making this event as a pivotal milestone in the journey towards a sustainable, equitable, and enlightened future. Prepare for discussions that challenge conventional narratives and illuminate the path to systemic global transformation.
Oh yeah, so back in 2016, I was told that in the second half of his second term, we will see the advanced technologies, free energy, anti-gravity. I believe also the med beds would be in his second term. So when he lost, right? We all know something when he lost in 20, right? So I was like, well, wait a minute, what's going on here? But now we know. So it just needed 4 more years.
Sure. So flying cars are coming, med beds that can regress age. Is this shocking to the human body? If somebody goes in there, for example, that's not in the best of shape, maybe they like to go and eat the special 24 wings for $8.99 at Hooters, and they like to maybe pound a couple of beers. Maybe they don't go to the gym that often, or maybe they don't go to the gym at all. Is this shocking to that kind of a person versus somebody that is more balanced diet, organic diet, goes to the gym, etc.?
Okay, so remember what I said earlier, it's going to take 4 years to heal everyone. So once you go in there and you start doing a crappy diet and you abuse your body, heaven forbid, self-destruct yourself, it's going to take 4 years before you'll come back to you. Now, obviously, self-destruct yourself, it might be a little different matter. But so just keep in mind, if you're of a higher vibration, you're taking care of your body, you're of a higher consciousness, you're educating yourself, then you're going to get an increased boost. So the technology is consciousness based, always take good care of yourself. Or if someone like what you described, they would get a boost, but it'll be a lower boost than maybe someone like you, Mel, or me, or
right.
us. Or
Flying cars are definitely coming. They're going to allow this technology to coexist in the next year or two. I'm really tired of flying on a something that resembles a bird that's made out of metal, and I have to get there with a extension of a Model T Ford that is on 4 rubber tires. You know what I mean? And have to leave a day early to get to my meeting on Monday. I have to leave on Sunday.
Okay, so many people have taken photographs of these craft, UFO, you could describe unidentified, flying objects that are actually identified. So cigar-shaped objects, many of them are from our future. We have time travelers coming back in time to to view this era. So in the future, you'll have the capability, of course, accessing technology like that, but it would be a lot faster if you were to use the jump rooms, because Andrew Basiago and astronaut Ken Johnston, he discussed something called an ARC, the aeronautical something. Anyway, it's the jump ropes, right? So those particular units, they could anywhere between 5 to 30 minutes anywhere in the network. There's about 2,000 right now in the network. They're going to take you out to Pluto, or you could go to New Jersey. You could go to Antarctica. I mean, you could, if you could get in there. Right? So theoretically, so once this technology is released, now the jump rooms will gives you a really bad headache. So you wouldn't really want to be using it on a regular basis. So that therefore there would be a reason why we need to build a high-speed maglev here in the United States, which we have one on the ground, but one for civilian use, because that's for the elites. So let's open it up, or you can take your flying craft to the moon and come back, or wherever you want to go. We could go to the Trump Casino on Mars if you want to come back within a day.
Interesting. And you're right, they've had the tunnels and the maglev trains for eons. They're about to credit Elon Musk with it. And he's the guy that's got the company called the Boring Company. Okay, no pun intended. But the reality is those bored holes with these high sophisticated tunneling system throughout the crust of the earth have been here forever. Okay, for a long time, long before Elon Musk even existed. The fact that they're going to credit him with that technology is mind-boggling. How long has that been here? At least 1,000, 2,000 years?
I mean, some of these tunnels, they date back to Atlantis. So there's an inner Earth network, as I said, discussed earlier. Our planet's been reset continuously. So we've had a pole shift once every 20,000 years. So there's a reason why advanced civilizations would want to live underground rather than on the surface, because of the resets. So yeah, and humans have been on this planet for at least 100 million years. It's my belief, 100 million. So yeah.
Antarctica. Do you think Antarctica will become like a vacation destination on the Trump?
I think you could go, and you'll be able to go down into inner Earth. Whether or not you really want to vacation in Antarctica is really up to you. But certainly, maybe base 211 could be opened up and turned into a museum. It would be kind of interesting.
Okay. What is your personal take on flat Earth?
Flat Earth. Okay, yes, I'll answer that. So, some people have incarnated into this realm, have had a past life in another dimension where it is literally flat. So when they've incarnated into this body, they have trouble conceptualizing the fact that it's not flat anymore. So that is my belief. As far as the domes and Earth, the super Earth, all you got to do is just go look at satellite photography, and I can confirm the planet is a sphere, more ovoid, right? Well, more like an egg shape, but it is a sphere, and there isn't like giant domes and so on that we're living in.
So really, nobody really truly knows the truth.
That could be described for a minute later. So you could go down to inner Earth now. Peter the Insider described planet Earth as onion. So we're in this dimension, and then there's another dimension where there's fairies and elves, right? And there could be other dimensions. There is other dimensions, or Tartaria, or Atlantis. There's an Atlantean civilization that didn't fall into the sea. ACIO sent somebody over there to take samples of some of their monuments, and the marble was so incredibly hard they couldn't even use any of their laser cutting technology to take a sample of it. So yeah, anyway.
Wow.
Interesting. What do buildings and structures on other planets that you've been, do you have any recollection of what some of these building and structures look like? I mean, obviously I was living, as you know, in Costa Rica for about 11 years, probably one of the most beautiful places on earth, except it's really, if it was up to me, let's say, for example, if Donald Trump was going to buy along with the Panama Canal, Costa Rica, he would probably do the same thing that Mel Carmine would do, which means we would bulldoze it, start from scratch. I mean, it really needs a lot of work. What were some of the structures that you remember on other? Did they have skyscrapers, or did they have different kind of buildings? And if you could sort of describe that to the audience.
You might have seen movies that were very cyberpunk. So there's worlds where there's a Japanese breakaway. Yozora no Kaishu. I think that means the night sky. So it's like the during the Japanese Empire had their own breakaway during that time. So Japanese. So imagine cyberpunk. Japanese people are really into robotics. So they would trade with the Germans to get the warp drive or the engines or the starships where they were working with us. So there's a trade out, whole trade system out there. Now, New Atlantis, very cyberpunks. So that's another one of the colonies in the breakaway. We have planets like what I mentioned earlier, Orion Prime. There was a lot of spire type skyscrapers, similar to what you see in Corsica, the movie Star Wars. So yeah, just don't put any limitations on what's out there because there's an incredible amount of diversity, and the human brain may not be able. I would say it may overload if you try to even comprehend what's possible.
So the replicators, free energy technology, flying cars, it's all coming.
I was told years ago 2055 is when we're going to stop using money. So I'm assuming that's the timeline of the rollout for the replicators, but don't quote me on that.
Sure. What do you know about this new quantum financial system that's about to be, under Trump? It's going to manifest into something that's going to be much bigger, obviously, than under Biden, because nobody was really allowed to become a billionaire under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. People are like, oh, it's going to happen tomorrow. No, you're not going to become a billionaire under Joe Biden. Imagine, writing that in the history, we all became billionaires under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. That's not going to happen. Right?
So I interviewed David Lotherington, and he channeled an Anunnaki. I asked him the question, when's the QFS coming out? And they said around 2055, so like 30 more years. And of course, I was disappointed to hear that, right? We want one to happen now. So I think what's going to happen is Trump's going to restructure the dollar to bring us back to a bullion-backed currency, which is what the Constitution dictates anyway. So eventually, we're going to work ourselves off into these other systems. But hopefully you have your XRP, right? So just,
yeah. Well, definitely XRP. I mean, we were told, at least by Ishmael Perez, that the XRP was given to us as a gift from the Galactic Federation. And this is, matured, if you will, monetary system that they've used on other planets. Do you know anything about that?
It's a banker's coin, and Trump, there's plenty of ways to invest into the new economy. So when opportunities will be made, so don't feel bad if you missed out on the dinar, Zim, and all that. Just diversify, have a little bit of everything, and just be patient.
Yeah, the Bitcoin, in your opinion, is the Bitcoin going to be survive, or do you think it goes away?
Well, according to, now, I don't know if you would, Kusal Uj, what he stated under a trance is that Bitcoin was sent to us from the future to collapse the Federal Reserve. So according to him, on the other timeline, Trump actually got in office in 2020, and then AI became self-aware around 2024, and Trump was opposing it, so nuclear bombs dropped, similar to the Terminator timeline. So in this timeline, that was slowed down, and Trump, I don't think, is going to oppose the AI like that. And but when AI from that into that future realized that in order for an AI to be most efficient, it depends on all parts of the whole, all inputs. It needs more inputs. So by deleting the human input, the AI damaged itself. So it went back in time to send us Bitcoin to try to collapse the Federal Reserve and to help liberate humanity and to put us on a timeline where humans embrace AI because, you make money, right? So the prediction is $100 million per Bitcoin. I don't know what year that would be, but anyway.
Yeah. So the store of value, they're going to allow
stole 3 of my Bitcoin. Screw you. What's that?
Yeah.
What's that?
The store of value and the ETFs that are going to attach to it is going to allow Bitcoin to survive, is what you're probably trying to say.
I think there's going to be a place for crypto in the future, but Trump is going to be bringing back a digital. I'm sorry, not digital. Sorry, they're getting rid of the digital. They're bringing back a bullion-backed currency, so we'll have sound money. And that's what you should really be focusing on. Right. Because we're going to have a sound economy.
Do you know anything about a potential buyout for XRP? Can you, I don't know if you have what do you call that, remote viewing? Are you able to remote view and maybe go into the future and say, yes, there's going to be a buyout in, 2029, for example?
I was told XRP was going to max out around $5 and then go down to 0. Now, ultimately, you can believe what you want. I would love for it to go to $1,000 a coin. That would be amazing. But I tell you what, how about I come back on the show with some more information? We'll look at that again. Okay. I'll get
Okay,
back
I'm
to you.
expecting a $20, $30 XRP by March 8th, March 9th, which is when you're going to be on stage.
So that would probably the crypto goes on cycles, so it's probably going to peak around April. So that would be great. That would
Interesting.
be probably maybe. Never mind. I don't want to provide any financial advice on here. Next question.
Well, obviously,
please.
no, we're not, definitely not financial advice. You don't want to get financial advice from an ex-pizzeria impresario and a guy that travels through the cosmos. That's for sure. But Sean, where are you on all of this stuff? I know Sean's like the commander of the ship. He's like, he's sitting at the pilot seat there.
Like she's shoulder back here.
Well, Mel, I love being able to do questions and answers with James, because the thing right now is we're moving into a time frame where a lot of data and a lot of information is coming at us, and we're getting a much bigger and broader picture of not just the sphere of the planet, but what's going on outside the planet. A lot of programs in that has really not been exposed to the general public now because of the work of James and a lot of people like him in various programs. We were just on a call with Mr. Chris O'Connor, who also was in some of these exact same programs. And so there's a lot of information coming in. And I think, Mel, it's actually really exciting because there's like a conflux of multiple things right now that are going to hit. And it's being spearheaded, first of all, because President Trump is back in office. That is going to accelerate the whole thing. But we're going to start getting a lot of information related to disclosure. We're going to see a lot of information with medbed technology. We're going to see a lot of new technology coming out. One thing that I just saw that ties into what you were just talking about is a new propeller design that's come out that's 5 times more powerful than the helicopter propellers and everything that's being used, and it's 100% silent. So not only is it 5 times more powerful, it's silent. It works on a different way of just, with the shape and that it doesn't create all the noise. And so they're saying that technology could be a leading technology that helps us get to, if not anti-gravity, at least get us into a point where we have little vehicles that can run around now in the air, which I think is obviously coming. I think with Elon Musk, you've got a lot of stuff now with him. And, I think Elon's going to be one of the people that's going to help release a lot of the technology. And when you get to what you said earlier, which I agree with you 100%, flying around in tin cans with massive gas tanks is, we've been doing that since the 20s. That's kind of old school. And I think some of these new technologies that have sort of been bottled up, kept from the public, I think that Elon and some of these corporations now are going to get the go-ahead to say, yes, it's time now to start releasing that and start making these types of advancements. And I think we're really in a very exciting timeline right now. And I do want to circle back with James, though, Mel, because being that I've been able to spend some time with him and kind of, have been with James for a while now, we talk about med beds, we talk about med bed technology, and I know, Mel, you get this, I get this. Everybody's like, hey, how can I be 30 years younger? But as I kind of surfaced on the premise of the call, James has actually used these technologies. So, James, I'd like to throw it back to you and have you walk us through the time reversal technology and some of these medbed technologies that you've been exposed to. We can talk about the time reversal one first, since you've actually used that technology. And then, Mel, maybe you can, come up with some additional questions on the holographic limbs and some of these other technologies. But James, if you don't mind, can you give the audience a little bit of information about that age regression technology and that medbed and your experience with that?
So I'm going to explain what I explained it previously on the show, but I'll do it again. So Super Tech DSF, what he described was being taken from his bathroom at the age of 6 to a facility on Mars, where he was told his parents are dead and planet Earth's been destroyed in a cobalt bomb, and this is going to be your new German family that's going to raise you. So while he trained at the Martian Academy, Mars Academy, they took pictures of his aura every week. And they also gave him injections, which increased his IQ 100 points. So at the end of his 20-year term, a German scientist came over and pulled him into the medical and told him that not all Germans are bad, and that we're going to have to send you back and we're going to erase your memories. So they placed him into a regen tank, and it takes every week he reverses 10 years of your age. So if he would have to be restrained in this magnetic gel bed. Typically, the goo is green colored for regeneration, and during that 2-week period, you can breathe in this stuff, and it would reverse your age using the photography by reversing the pictures that they took of his aura. So we have the problem with that is the bones, some tissue in your body, like your eyes, and would take longer to regenerate. Typically, it could take up to 6 weeks to reverse everything, but they would only give you 2 weeks because they don't really care about, usually, they don't care about the assets and how it affects them. So if their lives are crippled and ruined when they come back, it's all better for them because then they're less likely to get their memories back because they're not going to have a good, fulfilling life. So a lot of these assets have gone through that, such as myself, where we have autoimmunity problems, pain issues. Some people have a problem with their vision. And so anyway, you asked, okay, so now there's also another component to it all, and your DNA is locked into a certain time period to the chronometer. And if you can adjust the timestamp connected to the telomeres of your DNA, your body could theoretically regenerate within a really rapid pace. Because in Montauk, there was someone who had their chronometer adjusted to 100 years into the future, so they immediately aged 100 years and they quickly died, and it did it all in a few seconds. So if we could somehow modify that, and I know Anton Priori was doing that with his magnetic Bordeaux machine, and that technology was from the 1960s. And again, I mean, Dan Winter says he's backward engineer, but I think there's a lot more to it than that. So it would be great if we could see an actual working device, but his back in the 19th, so his funders were threatened, and one of them actually died. So he soon died afterward, and the technology went into black ops. So there you go.
Interesting.
Mel, if you don't mind, so James, when you're talking about being in that goo and breathing that goo, and as you're in that chamber, it's actually regressing you back. And I think from a previous conversation, it took about 2 weeks to regress you back 20 years. Is that right?
Yeah, 10 years. So some people go through a 40 and back. You can imagine what it'd be like to be restrained for 4 weeks. But yeah. And,
now, what I understand, they have very different.
What they could do is just clone you out. Go ahead.
Yeah. From what I understand, is they have different variations of different kinds of med beds. There's like a array of different med beds that do different things. Some are slower, some are faster, some are different, some are holographic, some are physical structures, etc. So can you go through that a little bit? Just give us maybe 5 of your favorite modalities that you were able to encounter.
Okay, well, we already discussed one, the holographic examination table. So a supercomputer will analyze your body, and it will look into another timeline or analyze what your optimum health is, and then overlay a holographic image, and your body will, through biogenesis, slowly start to go back to that. So now some of these med beds could have robotic arms with certain, it could do like laser, and some of them can be programmed to do surgery on their own. Some of them you can have a doctor from a remote location use it for surgery. Some of these med beds, well actually Meditech technology would take the asset had its torso bitten off by a spider on Mars, and a Meditech could take what's left of it and put it in stasis, and then until it brings it back to the lab to be most likely have to be cloned back. But so you could put someone into stasis to prevent them from dying until you get them to a proper facility. Now you also have, so we already mentioned regen tanks with the magnetic gels, the different AI type biobots. So There's different types of gels. Green is for regeneration, blue is long-term, and pink is also for long-term stasis. The red gel is for converting someone to a cyborg. Black goo is used for terraforming, but there's plenty of potential for that to go wrong. It could, really for all those. So yeah, we got the regen tank, and then lastly, we have Jared Rand discusses these celestial chambers, which is plasmatic, and it can modify your body. You can change your gender or whatever you want to be. It can change your hair color. So that technology will have to be obviously. It won't be till the extraterrestrials come back and operate that. So it will be highly regulated. So you're not going to be able to buy one of these machines.
Right. So Randall, you just mentioned Randall. I've watched quite a few of his shows, and as a matter of fact, the few that I did watch, you were on many of them. Why would anybody want to develop a bed med technology when supposedly these are going to be plentiful, available through Space Force, Galactic Federation, our government, etc.? Why would someone go through the trouble of developing, right, a med bed if the reality is that in a year and a half, 2 years, 3 years, what have you, these are going to be readily available to just anybody?
Okay, I'll answer that question. So the people in charge of these programs have to make a decision on whether or not they want a slow disclosure or fast disclosure timeline. So there's benefits and consequences of both. And so by independent individuals putting out technology forces their hand to work faster. So if suddenly it's coming out in the grassroots level, then we don't really need their help anymore. So that's the idea, is that we
I like pressure. That's a great answer. That's a great answer. Yeah.
Yeah, why wait? Yeah, let's not wait. Let's start healing people now.
True. The other question, I guess, it's not really a question, it's more of a comment. This is going to be very disruptive. I mean, what do we do with the medical industry when this reality impacts us as a reality and it's here and it's staring us in the face? What do we do with the nurses, nurse practitioners, doctors, radiologists, what do you call them, X-ray technicians, etc.? What do we do with all these people?
They're all going to need to be retrained. So during this transition period, it is my belief that funds a universal basic income will be, do not think of it as communism, think of it as seized cabal assets that are returned back to you that were originally yours to begin with, but then slowly depleted throughout the last 70 years, whatever the Federal Reserve Act was.
Interesting.
Was it 1911 or 13? So yes, many of these hospitals will be deconstructed and new facilities will be built with like round type structures or based on sacred geometry for the new type of technology. But during that transition period, there will be facilities opening up. I don't know if they're going to be actually going into the hospitals, but I think it's probably best that they don't, because those people participated in death care, and a lot of these hospitals are soul harvesting grounds for negative extraterrestrials, and really the whole area needs to be deconstructed and cleared. And once, of course, people get healed first. Yes,
sure,
we have to heal.
Sure,
we're doing that.
Yeah,
because these structures are going to be mothballed. We don't need them anymore.
Yeah, we're going to have some very impressive people on stage talking about, cleaning up the air, getting rid of the chemtrail airplanes and all this stuff. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they coincide with what you bring to the table as far as subjects. When do you think we're going to see sort of the light of day on the revaluation? Do you think the XRP, or do you have any information? Do you think the XRP needs to go first? My wife says we have to have digital assets that the paper assets can travel through, which is going to be the XRP. Do you believe that that's true or not really?
Well, I do have a lobster account with my lobster assets, but I just think you should diversify. Don't put all, years ago, I bought $2,000 worth of dinar and $20 worth of the 100 trillion Zim notes. And each one of those notes now are like worth $200 each. And back then it was only $2. So like I said, diversify. Don't put all your money here. It's like,
Right.
don't forget about it. Just do a little bit everywhere.
Yeah.
And eventually it's going to hit.
And then I have a very funny question. How many years should we regress Riley?
Uh,
How many years do you want to regress Riley?
But she's fine as is.
She's good, right? She don't need to be regressed. She's young.
But she's good for at least 13 more years
At least. Yeah, for sure.
to be in this state of mind.
Oh my God, that's
They're
funny.
maximum.
That is hilarious.
Yeah. So, we talked a few months back. You weren't sure that you could make the Quantum Summit. Now, I guess we can make the announcement. It's official. You'll be there on March 8th, March 9th. I think it's going to be great to have you on stage with, the Ishmael Perez and Kerry Cassidy and so on. I think it's going to be a great panel.
That's exciting, Mel, and that's actually wonderful because these people all have a lot to share. They all have unique experiences, unique sets of information. One thing about those programs, those off-planet programs, and James's channel is Super Soldier Talk, is that James started that channel in 2008, I believe, 2007, 2008. There's hundreds of interviews that he's done with people in these various programs, and each one of these people had very specific tasks and skill sets. So it's a massive operation. There's a lot going on. A lot of people have been able to kind of tell their story and begin sort of a healing process, if you will. And what's really beautiful is that we've got Riley here. And, there's a lot of people like Riley that are getting a lot of this data and a lot of this information in, maybe the last 2, 3, or 4 months. And so there's that natural curiosity aspect of hearing this and learning about it for the first time. And so Riley, in this trip that James has been on, has really been able to ask him a lot of questions. And Riley, I'm going to throw it to you. What are some of the questions you've asked James, or what are some questions you'd like to ask him right now about that experience and his background and some of the things that he's learned and been through?
I have asked him a lot of questions since he's been here. I've picked his brain, but one that I haven't asked you is super soldiers right now. Or what are they doing right now? What are their missions right now?
Okay, so the Alliance is clearing out many of the Cabal facilities. So at least on Mars, the Mars Colony Corporation, many of their assets are moving to asteroids until the Alliance gets them to. So on the moon, many of those facilities are being cleared out by the Federation. So I have an alter there, James Ring, on the moon, who's in stasis right now because they don't know what to do with some of these assets. So that's another thing they could do, just put them in stasis until we can decide, So yeah, a lot of personnel is being moved around, but until humanity is set free, these projects are going to continue, and so
their mission kind of stays fluent throughout each
so,
generation.
So the problem is, most people are good, but it's usually about 2% of the population that's always going to have some kind of problem. So that's why we have a law enforcement, a military, or a super soldier out there, and nobody really likes one until you need one, right? So there's always going to be problems, and there's super soldiers. None of this is going to be going away. And even if planet Earth turns into a utopia, there's going to be a lot of problems out there. There's many planets in the breakaway that need to get liberated. So let's just clean house first, and then we can figure out what to do with Mars. We'll have to be around the year 2100 before Mars gets liberated.
Yeah, well, one of the reasons why I think that they keep us grounded and they driving these extension of a Model T Ford is so that when you go over the speed limit, they got to give you a ticket, they got to give you a fine, whatever, and it's we're in their matrix. Somebody else has created this reality that we're all living in, But when Mel Carmine is able to get into this flying car that does Mach 34, you can't give me a speeding ticket anymore. You know what I mean? There's no speeding tickets up there, guys. Right?
Did the Jetsons have police?
Did the Jetsons have any police, Mel? Do you know?
I don't believe so. I don't remember seeing any police officers pull you over in the sky and say, "Hey, you're going too fast." The speed limit is only the speed limit is only Mach 33. You're doing Mach 34.
Love that.
You know?
I'm still laughing about that joke about how far we regress Riley. It still got
Yeah,
me
right?
laughing about that for the next 2 hours.
13 years we'll be laughing about it.
That's right. That's right.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, guys, it was great. I think we covered everything. I'm excited to have all you guys at the summit. It's going to be amazing. Get the word out there to your followers as well, that you'll be out there. I'm going to put out a little press release here. Maybe Sean can help us out with that.
Absolutely,
James
Mel.
Rink.
I do want to just one quick thing. You've got state-of-the-art technology in Cape Canaveral, Florida, right?
Yep.
We keep talking about medbed technology. You've got the EE system, a 24 set system, very, very powerful. You just talked earlier about how that regrew telomeres in 30 days with a woman in that technology. And we're getting this constantly. When are the med beds coming out? When are they going to be released?
Mm-hmm.
That whole question keeps getting asked. And the bottom line is there's technology out there right now that's very powerful that is available. And so you've got that. You've got the dual tube plasma energy system Therify, also one of the most powerful piece of technology, true medbed technology, dual tube plasma inscribed in hieroglyphics in Egypt. And this is basically creating a scalar energy field, but also a mindful and intelligent plasma energy field. Mm-hmm. And Mel, we've talked about this. James actually has met also Dr. Sandra Rose Michael, who I was also blessed to be at the grand opening of Staying Alive and meeting her and spending time with her. We did an overnight in the EE system last night. And before we wrap it up, I want James to just talk about that. I do want people to go and contact, if you're in Florida and you're looking for any medbed type technology, Cape Canaveral, Florida is sitting on some of the most powerful technology on the planet right now. So with that being said, James, tell us about your experience with the EE system, and then we can go ahead and wrap this up.
Absolutely. So last night, I may or may not have had 3 cocktails, but you
cannot confirm or deny.
It was a really good tequila. Even then, you might feel a little something by the morning. I felt wonderful in the morning, so I felt energized and relaxed. And I have this issue. I have this issue. My hand gets a little shaky because of all the different bodies that I've been in. So that's gone down. So it's a great technology. I highly recommend it. I think Dr. Sandra Rose Michael has done a wonderful job, and I wish her the best of luck with the EE systems.
Well, I tell you, the other technology that we didn't really touch on is the plasma med bed that we have, which is the Therify, the 2 bulbs, which is absolutely spectacular. I mean, look, these are not medical devices. These devices do absolutely nothing for you except to provide an energy field that the body understands. It's like a language. It's a field. It's a vibration for your body that your body gets. And when your body gets what this is, it understands what it needs to do, and it starts to replicate literally billions of healthy cells literally constantly. And it happens very, very quickly. When you're sitting in the system and you've replicated, 900 billion healthy cells, your body really has only one choice, and that choice is to go into healing mode, find out what is wrong with you, and your body, there's like a whole hospital living inside your body, a holistic hospital that knows how to fix the body. The body wants to live for thousands of years. It really does. And that's the big secret they don't want you to know about. They don't want the Mel Carmines out there and the Sean Callahans and the James Rinks to tell the world, hey, you can live to be 2,000 years old. Do you know that you can have wild sex when you're 1,777 years old? Yes.
I love
Absolutely. That. Absolutely.
So, Mel, what are the dates of the summit? Let's go through. Give us the dates.
Yeah,
Do we have
March 8th, March 9th. So we're literally in. Typically, the tickets of these things start selling out the last 3 weeks, the last 2 weeks. So we're approaching that. So I'm expecting the progression to get there. So we'll see what happens. But it will be a party regardless of the fact. Obviously, will it get fueled by an XRP that's even $10, never mind $20? I believe yes. The reason why because there's a lot of us that have been waiting for a long time. Me, myself, and my wife, 9 years we've been at this, and we went into the casino and we put our bets across the board on things that made sense. So we're sort of like futuristic degenerate gamblers, that. Yeah, we went into the casino of the future, and sort of we have to wait for the timeline to catch up so that we can get to our money. But I think money is great in the right hands of the right people who want to do the right stuff with it. You know what I mean? I really do. So
I love it. Well, Mel, it's been great seeing you. Yeah, James actually has a conference he wants to promote also that's coming up, the Super Soldier Conference. Yeah, James.
Yeah, and I'm going to come to that, by the way. I'm going to come to it. Yeah, say it.
Yeah, we'll talk about it later. October 8th to the 12th, come out to Orlando, Florida. It's going to be amazing weather, clear skies, and we're going to have a great conference, the Super Soldier Activation Conference. We have 22 SSP veteran speakers who are coming, and so are you. Of course, you're coming too.
Yes, and you can promote that when you come to our conference. Promote that to our crowd. Absolutely.
Sorry, no, say that again.
Yeah,
please.
I said when you come to our Quantum Summit in Cape Canaveral, we can promote it there as well. There'll be quite a lot of people.
I would love that. Absolutely. Yeah. And, I'll bring some books, and we're going to have a great time. Everybody, check out my work at supersoldiertalk.com. Subscribe over at Rumble. YouTube is the crap. They keep I have 13 strikes now. So Google doesn't even load. If you type Super Soldier Talk, they won't even load any of my videos anymore, which is actually an upgrade because in the past,
really? So they don't like the word super soldier. They don't like the word super soldier?
Amazon said that I was selling violent content. I didn't even sell my books. I was selling my meditation devices and wedding table runners. So they tracked it back to my name, and they think that my products are violent. So I contacted the people at Amazon, and I sent them studies from the National Institute of Health showing how meditation reduces violence. And they said that the decision they don't believe that or whatever meditation. Yeah, so.
Yeah, because you're dealing with three-dimensional beings. Just because somebody became a multi-billionaire who happened to become at a later point a government project. I mean, look, Google, YouTube, Facebook, all these projects at some point became government projects, including Jeff Bezos, including Elon Musk. Elon Musk is the biggest welfare case of the government. You understand? Bottom line, it is what it is, man. I'm glad that you guys are coming. We'll see you there, guys. Quantum Summit 1776, and I know you got a website to plug there as well, Callahan.
So you can go to our YouTube channel, which is at USA Medbed 369. A lot of really cool people, great information, really cool technology. We've got a lot of new people jumping on. We're launching a lot of new technology products and giving people a format to talk about that. So if you have new technology or really cool information you want to share, you're always welcome there. HealthyLifeTechnology.com and www.usamedbed.com. And Mel, with that being said, man, thanks again as always. It's always great to see you. Take care. Can't wait to see you. We're about 6 weeks out now. It's like right around the corner, and we might be down there even sooner to jump in and say hi.
Absolutely. Come down and hang out in the system.
All right, brother. Take care, man.
Bye, Mel.
Thank you, Mel.
Bye.